This evening, my name's Matt Austin. We've got Tom Sorrells here. We are at News 6. We are gathering our air mattresses. We've already made it through way too many hurricane snacks, and we're getting ready for this thing. And Tom Sorrells joining me in the Weather Center. I'm so glad you have this particular graphic pulled up, Tom. We're going to talk about it as once we get some people joining us. This has been real popular, as you can just give your questions to Tom Sorrells. We can see him on the screen. We're going to answer them for you. Tom, how you feeling tonight?
I'm good. I'm well. I had pizza. Thank you.
You're welcome. Got a little Sicilian style pizza.
Matt Austin spraying for pizza for the crew. What was that about?
I was hungry and I felt bad just eating in front of everybody, so I got enough for most of the people in the newsroom.
Yeah,
And
it's all
so,
good.
yeah,
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And we have to eat some calories because we're going to be burning some calories here very soon, Tom. So if you're looking at this picture, get acquainted. That is Tom's weather computer, is the big one. I know you want to see that, and he's going to show you the latest tracks in just a second. We also have this guy right here, which fascinated me today. I'm going to have Tom talk about the lightning from the sky in this one. And we have also got some video of hurricane hunters. So we're going to touch on some of that as you join us and give us your questions. Tommy, how are we looking right now? This path seems to have shifted a little bit in a way in which you predicted.
Well, we knew this was coming. We knew that this morning they would jog it farther to the south and farther to the east. And that's exactly what the Hurricane Center did this morning with their updated 5, and they maintained it at 11 and even sort of maintained it at 5 o'clock this afternoon on the same path that it was at 11. They're nudging it closer and closer to the south and the east. And you can tell right now by watching this eyewall jog around that the movement is east-northeast. So the path is in around the same zone Hurricane Charlie came in back in 2004, around Port Charlotte. All of the activity around the eye in the last several hours has kind of led me to believe that maybe it was going to try to undergo eyewall replacement. That has not happened yet. If it would tighten that eyewall down and collapse, then the second eyewall would be wider, weaker, and the storm wouldn't increase in intensity. And the reason I was excited is because the pressure has continued to drop, Matt. I mean, it continues to drop every time they do an update, but the wind speed has not come up. So I keep wondering if maybe that's what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and advance this now off this graphic and show you what's happening with everything else. Here's the path of projected movement. And notice I refer back to the pressure, 947 millibars. It was at like 960s last night, 950s now down to 947, still rapidly increasing with the drop of the pressure.
Hey,
but
Tommy,
the wind does not come up for hours.
Hey, just as you're talking about the pressure, I get confused by that sometimes. Like, what is like a cap? What's like the lowest pressure you've seen? Because 947.
Oh, I don't remember what the lowest pressure recorded was.
Have you seen it get into the 8s before?
No, I don't think so. It's down in the lower 900s. I can't remember. What was the lowest pressure?
Okay.
Hey, Candace, do you remember what the lowest pressure was with Hurricane Gilbert, the hurricanes we had 2 years ago when the lowest pressure was recorded? What was that? Could you Google that for me? Yeah. Because Matt, of course, didn't prep me, and I can't remember. Normally, I have the memory of an elephant. And
I know. I've never ever seen you not remember a number.
We're going to know momentarily.
I'm just wondering, for reference sake, like what is super low pressure? Like what's a
892?
Labor Day for 1935.
1935 Labor Day hurricane 892.
Those ladies are good back there.
Well, yeah, Google is an amazing thing. Okay, so watch this track. As the storm continues to increase, we believe it will become a Category 4 hurricane during the overnight before making landfall around Port Charlotte tomorrow afternoon. We don't have to wait on tomorrow afternoon for things to fall apart here. We're going to end up with big rain and big impacts. I'm going to get to you, Titusville, in a moment. I promise you I will. Stay with me. Here's the track. All the way into Orlando is a possible strong tropical storm by Thursday afternoon. And then finally, things rapidly improve for us Friday as it lifts away north of Daytona Beach. Friday should be kind of a blustery, leftover, better day for us, Matt. Here are the models. The reason I keep saying it's going to go south, farther south, is that the TVCon model in there does go south of Tampa and did. It's right in here. And you see it going south of Orlando and out around Daytona Beach. The Hurricane Center followed very close in line with that. And so my thinking is, if these continue to go east with the next round of models coming out soon, then lo and behold, I think they'll all go east. It'll change our forecast maybe a little. Here's our in-house model showing you the hour-by-hour breakout. And look at all the trending of the squall lines coming into Central Florida. Now, today, South Florida was eaten up, Matt, with tornado warnings. And my fear is, as typical, anytime there's a low in the Gulf, and the feeder bands swing through and the onshore flows coming in, we end up with tornado warning after tornado warning after tornado warning. And that is what I fear will happen and be the case for us tomorrow. That will become on air most all the time, tracking would-be tornadoes. So there you go. Wednesday at 7 p.m., the activity pushes all the way through Wednesday night. There's Thursday 2 a.m., Thursday 9 a.m., Thursday 11. The big punch is over for the most part by Thursday night into Friday morning. Everyone wants to know about impacts and what's going to go on with them. One more time with the cone of projected movement. Should be over Orlando by Thursday at 2 p.m. We got a call or email from someone in Polk County, very angry that we're not giving enough about Polk County. But Polk County's in the Tampa market. So I would have been focusing on you, except you don't belong to me. I love you, and I thank you for watching. You will have a Category 1 hurricane coming through Polk County probably tomorrow into Thursday afternoon. So be ready for that. Now, here we go. Wind intensity and timeline. Everyone loves, we call this the egg. You see the winds overrunning the area. There we go. Thursday, 9 a.m. Isn't that crazy? Category 1 hurricane rolling through Polk County all the way into Osceola, into Orlando, and up through Daytona Beach as a tropical storm. By Friday, 11 a.m., it's all lifting north. Here you go. Big time impacts for Marion County could have wind speeds of 40 to 70 miles per hour, 10 to 15 inches of rain, and of course, the isolated tornado threat. Lake and Sumter counties. Okay, we're going to have that Category 1 hurricane in southern Lake and northern Polk County cruising through there Thursday morning. So you have to understand some of your winds could be 70 to 80 even miles per hour, lots of rain, and the possibility of an isolated tornado. Polk County, your winds could be as high as 90 miles per hour. That's a Category 1 hurricane. Inland hurricane warning is what you're dealing with through Polk County. All kinds of rain, scattered tornado risk, and then Orange and Seminole counties. Winds could be anywhere 70 to 90 miles per hour in the southwest corner of Orange County, northern Osceola. Tornado threat is for real. Puddling, ponding, 6 to 10 inches of rain. Here are the current advisories. You'll notice that we have them in kind of, that's almost a periwinkle purple out there. We have a tropical storm warning for those areas, but we have a hurricane warning for these areas. That's Lake, Seminole, Orange, Polk, and Osceola. More impacts for you. Tropical storm force winds are on the way. They advance through during the day tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, when Troy's in here at 5 a.m., some of the feeder band activity could be edging into Central Florida, Matt. So we could start the tornado warnings as early as 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's going to be a mess.
So if people are traveling around, if they need to, say somebody needed to get to work to cover this thing for the news, when would you shut that down? At what point are you going to try to get into the station tomorrow?
My shift is coming in at 2 o'clock and starting and going till duration. I'll probably be here by 1:30.
Okay.
But it's going to be a matter of, for you and I who have to be here by 2 or 3, it's going to be a matter of paying attention. There will be feeder bands coming through. Mm-hmm. Look at radar, check it out because they come in waves. So when the feeder band comes through and the most torrential rotation is through, get in your car and leave and get to work and wait for the next one to hit. I wouldn't suggest anyone be on the road after about lunchtime.
Okay. Well,
now, I'm going to be on the road around lunchtime or a little bit after, but I'm going to time it out. And I have someone here who will be working if I'm not here. But for most people who are trying to get to work, hopefully your work is canceled tomorrow because it's going to be a big old mess.
Yeah, if you're somebody in Central Florida or really Florida in general, schools canceled through Friday, theme parks canceled until Friday, the airport after like 10:30, everything's done at Orlando International Airport. So if you've got something you think you need to do tomorrow, you probably don't need to. And if you're thinking I'm going to go, I was telling my mother-in-law, go over to my wife and kids, my house, and weather the storm. And so if you're thinking of doing that, do it before lunchtime, Tom says. Go have it at your final destination. That's what it sounds
Sharon McPhee is asking, why would the storm go more east? Because it's sensing, it's making more of the hookup with the trough. Sharon. The backside of the high was always there. So we're on the backside of the ridge of high pressure going north, and now it's sensing the flow of the trough. So earlier this week, we thought it was going to miss the hookup altogether and become almost a cutoff low. And remember, there was a 12-hour break in there where I said, wow, it's going to slow down and go 2 or 3 miles per hour. Now we're thinking it never goes slower than about 10 miles per hour. So it will continue to advance on over and go east.
Hey,
That's the
Tom,
driving factor. Yeah.
we have somebody from Croom who is feeling ignored. She says none of the stations care about Croom and South Sumter. She says we're not in the villages. So in that area, Sumter County could get.
Who is she? Where's her quote?
Oh, it's right here. I just had it up. She says she's still being ignored. Nobody's talking about Croom. So what do you think about? I mean, Sumter County could see some
Hurricane
nastiness.
force winds.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right there on the borderline of where the thing will still be the strongest in Central Florida unless it jogs further south than we expect. Now, keep in mind, it hasn't veered. It hasn't done anything weird. The models are the models. This thing was always going to do what it was going to do. So it's not like, oh, wow, it veered suddenly. Well, no, it's doing its job. It's doing what nature wants it to do. We're just trying to figure out nature.
Right.
So,
And when you've shown me plenty of these tracks, and when you look at them after the fact, I've never seen one that you've showed us that was straight. They all seem to jog and zig and zag as they're going. Like once you look at them after the fact. So this thing's not going to run a perfect line like all the
No, and it
tracks
will wobble.
show.
You know, remember the wobbles with Hurricane Matthew, your namesake back in 2016, is it wobbled up the coast. The wobble saved our lives, saved our coast, because it was a Category 4 storm right on the bringing in 135, 140 mile per hour winds and wobbled just offshore far enough that it missed the tip of Brevard County and stayed over the open water by maybe 10 miles. So had it wobbled inland like we thought it was going to, it would have ripped the daylights out of our coast side, and it did not. So what about the Space Coast? No one seems to be serious. I'm stunned you're saying that. They rolled the rocket back in. I hope that people in Brevard County have taken this for real and realized tropical storm force winds are coming. Squall lines are going to be there tomorrow morning. You guys are not going to be able to get out and prepare your lawn and clear your pool deck because of the rain and the high wind tomorrow morning. So, Amy, please tell me that your Publix is out of water as well, that everyone's stocked up. Because I'm telling you, in Orange County, I saw people reacting, people getting out, people buying water. Water was cleared out of Walmart and Publix in my neck of the woods 2 days ago. So I hope people in Brevard County did take it serious.
Yeah, they definitely in the last couple of days, Tommy, seemed to be. We had more news about sandbags and stuff shutting down in Brevard as you showed us that track shifting east more and more, and it's looking like they will see some effects from this giant storm.
Our friend Sabrina is in St. Cloud. Sabrina, what are you doing in St. Cloud, lady? Aren't you in Ohio?
Oh yeah, Sabrina. Hey.
Yeah. I think she's down here helping families. What I think's going on with her? Lake County. Well, Lake County is under what we call an inland hurricane possibility. You could have wind speeds up to 70, maybe 75 miles per hour.
Hey, Lanice is sticking up for the meteorologist around here. For the love of baby Jesus, they can only predict things. Get off their ties. They can only tell you what they know. I know
you make fun of my tie. You want to? Somebody make fun of my tie. I don't care.
No, I don't think so. I think they're just some folks are hypercritical, and I think the majority of the audience realizes that you're just going with the information that you have, and things change.
My forecast. And let me tell you something. When you're yelling at me, I can't hear you.
It's like music to my ears.
Yeah, man. If you spell my name right, it's all I care about. I'm fine. Dude. Yeah, pile on. I don't care.
Yeah. It's all good. Hey, want to show you some video, Tommy? We saw this during the newscast today. If you look right outside, right in the eyewall specifically of this video, is taken from a satellite earlier today, I believe, maybe last evening, but I think it was today. You can just see lightning erupting all over the place. I was curious as to your thoughts on this one.
As the eye becomes deeper, stronger, all of a sudden the convection around it really blows up, and you see it like boom, 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 like rapid fire lightning strikes going on. During the heat of the day is when it really happened, I think. Watch what it does there. Isn't that crazy? That's Machine Gun Kelly style stuff.
I like the Machine Gun Kelly reference. Tom Sorrells firing on all cylinders on night one before we start.
Maybe I've been awake too long.
24/7 coverage. I like Michael Phillips. He's right. He says Tommy can handle it if people are giving him a hard time.
Yeah, I don't
Tommy
care.
can
Pile
handle
on.
it.
Pile on. Please pile on. Let me know you're actually seeing the message and hearing what we're saying. Someone said Orlando wind 80 or 60. More like 60 to 75 if it goes on the same track that we believe it's going to, the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. If it comes in there that way, then chances are you'll end up with wind speeds of maybe close to hurricane force strength. They have it progged as a strong tropical storm. That would be about 65 mile per hour winds still hanging in Orange County. And keep in mind, Matt, that when Charlie came through, very little of our area got what we call a Category 1 hurricane. It goes into the book as a Category 1 hurricane that hit Orlando. It did have wind speeds of 90 miles per hour at OIA. Over in western Orange County and Apopka and over into Northern Lake, we didn't really get that. We had strong tropical storm. It tore some stuff up, but we really didn't get 75, 80 mile per hour winds. This time we may. And so I said this to our friend Scott Maxwell earlier today in a quick texting message with him. He said, how would you describe it? Well, I would describe it as Charlie meets Francis, because it's going to be moving slower, but it's going to come ashore as a 4 along the same track right up the I-4 corridor. So there you go.
Well, that's a terrifying thing. You said that on the news earlier today, and it really puckered me up a little bit, got me a little tense. As you say, Charlie meets Francis. I was around for both of those down in more South Florida area at the time, and it was rough on both accounts. I've only been in Titusville a couple of years. My first storm, this is from unnamed Facebook user Tommy. Give us your best advice for somebody weathering their first storm, their first hurricane in Florida.
I hope that they've stocked up on water and supplies and all the goods. I would have to see their home, how close they are to the water. I think it's going to be a big water event in Brevard County and Titusville. You're going to have a lot of high wind. You may end up with some canopy damage, but you will end up wishing that you had a generator before it's over.
Oh, yeah.
And chances are you'll have power outages and a lot of water is my thought for Brevard County. Now, if the thing goes farther south and east, Brevard County and Titusville will get rocked with higher wind. So you could end up with a strong tropical storm, a strong one, like 70 mile per hour winds if you're unlucky. Feeder bands start getting this far north in the southern part of Brevard County by dawn tomorrow morning. So my guess is by sunrise to 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, we may fire off our first tornado warning.
Yeah. Thanks for all your questions. We've gotten the best. We started doing these a couple days ago. We've been getting the best questions, and really we're fascinated to see what you're experiencing, what you're thinking during all of this. I love Sheila. She's saying, Mr. Tom is the best under pressure. So
thank you, Sheila.
Focused. He really is the best in the business. If you're watching Tom Sorrells in Central Florida, you know you're getting the best information out there. I mean, come on, we don't have to be humble about this. Tom does, but I don't. He is the man. One of my favorite, by the way, if we get into like real deal hurricane coverage in the middle of the night, he does something called Talk to Tom, where are we going to do that again this year, Tommy?
Oh yeah, we're lining it up. I do it. I've named my Facebook Lives Talk to Tom. Mm-hmm. The reason we came up with Talk to Tom is because it predates social media. Back in 2004, during Hurricane Charlie, we had people that we had not had a hurricane come through Orlando since 1960. So all of a sudden it's 2004. I mean, 1960 had been a long time ago, been like 44 years. And we're like, wow, people don't know. I was on the Real Radio with Jim Phillips. I'm talking to him. I said, so as the feeder band comes in, and they're like, whoa. Now, what's a feeder band? They're like, no, explain to people. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's the band that feeds into the storm. It's big. When you look at the hurricane spins, you see the banding, the arms coming out. Those are feeder bands. They're feeding into the center of the storm. And they're like, okay, cool. Never heard it called that. I'm like, we're going to go to meteorology school here through this hurricane. So we kind of did on the air because people were calling in with questions about how much water do I need? What kind of house is my house safe here? And I'm like, well, is it made of cement block? Is it made of bricko block, as I'd refer to it? Or is it, structure? Is it wood structure? How long has it been around? Do you have hurricane straps? So it's a chance for people to do what we're doing now through YouTube and Facebook Live and fire Kenneth Snyder, Captain Sunshine. Watch it, Kenneth. If they do, they ask questions here and we answer them. That's kind of like Talk to Tom was back in 2004. People call the station, they patch you right in. It was the first time I'd ever had Viper radar. So I had live radar and I could zoom into everybody's street. And so if you ask me a question about, Titusville, I could zoom over to Titusville. We'd never been able to do that before. So it was a cool interactive thing before you could be cool and interactive like
Yeah. One of my all-time favorite hurricane memories is we were doing storm coverage. Tom Sorrells was doing Talk to Tom. And if I remember this correctly, a kid called in, Tommy.
Yeah.
Had to be like 10 and was terrified. And you just made the little one feel just so much better. That was such a memorable experience, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know whatever happened to him. I mean, did he grow up to be a weather guy? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question. We need to look him up.
Well, if I had his name, I would. I do know a child who was a child during '04, who has now graduated from your university, Florida State. She's doing her master's degree now, like out in Oklahoma. And she wanted to become a meteorologist since she was like a little girl from watching TV during Hurricane Charlie, Francis, and Jean.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Getting a couple of questions here about how close the eye will get to Orlando and what you worry about the most, Tommy. Is it flooding for this event, or is it the tornado threat that we're going to see?
For me, the thing that scares me the most personally is the tornado effects. They're random. They're hard to pick out of the fast-moving squall lines of the wraparound feeder bands. And so I really worry about evacuating people, putting people in places inland, and then a feeder band coming through and ripping off a roof. I just hate that because a hurricane is not a point. We stress this all the time. And this is going to be a great example of that tomorrow morning when the eye is still way out there in the ocean, hours away from making landfall over there in the Bradenton area or Sarasota area. And the feeder bands are causing havoc here in Orlando, Daytona Beach, and Melbourne as they feed in. We're going to be getting rocked by this thing 300 miles away. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah, that is wild. Kenneth Snyder's on a cruise ship right now, going back and forth on Thursday. He's saying, what's the prognosis for that? You wouldn't be able to land a cruise ship out at Port Canaveral, I'm guessing, Thursday, Tom?
I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard to do. I bet they'll move them somewhere else. Probably head south toward like the Bahamas, try to stay away from here till Thursday night into Friday. Maybe by Thursday night into Friday, they could ease into the Cape. I don't know.
Yeah.
Updated trajectory. You don't get an updated trajectory until
11 o'clock?
11 o'clock. Let me back this up, and I'll show you the latest one. Lake Sumter, there's your effects, Marion.
Oh, Tom, I've been watching Tom since WPDE 15 in South Carolina. He is
Who
great.
said that?
That is Karen Blackwell Beckett, who's been
Karen,
watching
you're giving away your age. Stop that.
That has been a minute. Tom's been in this market 21 years?
22.
22
years, almost 22 years behind me here with many more to go. But I did live in the Florence Myrtle Beach market in 1989. You'll hear me say it all the time. My first hurricane experience was actually Hurricane Hugo. We had a little storm or a little wave or two come through, but the big honking hurricane was the Category 4 storm Hugo back in 1989. And that was Ginger Gadsden lived through that as a very young person, and I lived through it in the same state in South Carolina. So that's a big one for me. But yeah, I did time there in South Carolina. Loved it. Love you, South Carolina. Thank you for watching. Or maybe you live here now. But there's your trajectory, your track of the path of Ian in the next 72 hours. Right through there. Should be right on top of Orlando by Thursday at 2 p.m.
Yeah, people are asking effects of Orlando. Is the eyewall going to touch that? Pretty much tells you the story.
Yeah, very well made.
Jog east a little bit, as Tom's saying, in the next track, but you probably won't see it move a whole lot. Sheila asks an interesting question, and I think of this too. As I'm starting to shift things around my house, I'm wondering which side of my house is going to get hit with the most winds. So I would imagine it depends on which side of that eye wall you're on. Is there a way for people to figure out?
In the morning, the wind is going to start coming in from the east-southeast.
Okay.
You're going to have an easterly flow really whipping across the ocean, coming right across the interior. And then once the eye gets past you, it's going to shift around and come from the other direction. Hey, man, I've got a cut in at 8:30.
Oh, do you really? They added an 8:30 cut in. Okay. All right. Well, that about does it for us.
We go all night.
I know we could. All right, Tommy, I'm going to let you go. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to turn him off so he can go do his thing. But yeah, I rounded up some video for you here. If you're just tuning in, I know a bunch of you just jumped on looking at where this thing is headed. This is the latest track, but that track is getting updated in about 2.5 hours. We're going to see the latest one. But if you live in Central Florida and you were hoping that you weren't going to see any effects of this thing, take a look at that. It looks like the center of the storm, at least at this point with this track, could at one point be over Orlando. Now, by that point, it should not be hurricane strength. We're looking at 65-mile-per-hour winds in the heart of Orlando, but we could see a ton of rain. I mean, look, from Thursday at 2 p.m. to Friday at 2 a.m., that 12-hour stretch is going to be drenching everybody in this area with just tons of rain, and even 60-mile-an-hour winds for several hours can really do some damage to a roof. We're going to probably see a ton of trees down and power outages. It could be a real mess around here if you're looking. So a bunch of people joining in right now. I was going to jump off, but I just want you guys to see this track. If you're looking for timing, we were just talking to my meteorologist on here, Tom Sorrells, and I was asking him, if you need to get somewhere tomorrow, because I know I do. I'm going to be at home, hopefully rest tonight, and then I'm going to come in and we'll be sleeping here for the next couple of days. If you're going to travel, he says you should probably get to where you're going by lunchtime. Of course, that's going to depend on where you are. If you're in the northern areas of Central Florida or northern areas of Florida itself, you should have some extra time, maybe, but just as a good rule of thumb for everybody watching this and everybody interested in Central Florida, if you're going to go spend the day or the next few days at a friend's house or a family member's house, you should hop on over there by lunchtime and have lunch with them, because it's already going to be starting to get windy. Southern parts of the area are certainly going to be seeing some rain. So we are going to have you covered right here. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or clickorlando.com, the News 6 app, we're going to be streaming these updates. We're going to actually have another one coming up at 10:30, very close to that 11 o'clock update. If it comes in early, we'll be able to show that to you. We appreciate everybody watching. Thank you for all your comments. I'm sorry if I wasn't able to keep up as well tonight. Y'all are putting me to work. Thank you so much. We'll be back on, if I didn't get to your question, on all of these same platforms at 10:30 tonight.